So today, I'm making these. Stay tuned. Hi guys, so for those of you who don't know, my name is Michael and I am the woodworker for MK Designs, and I'm not really making these. I mean, I am, but no. I need to do a bunch of resawing. I've got a bunch of 8-quarter lumber. I'm working on the project, and I've got a bunch of 8-quarter lumber, and I'm wanting to resaw it down to 1/2 inch to make the drawers. And so I needed to get my bandsaw set up for resawing. When I initially set it up, I just set it up, you know, how I normally do it, but I was still getting a good bit of drift. So I actually looked up Alex Snodgrass, and the Wood Whisperer has a video on his, and he also has one where it's a live video shoot from a woodworking conference or something, where he set up the bandsaw and he goes through how he does it and everything. And I got it set up, and yeah, I was able to make this. And so yeah, let's get to it. First thing I did, because I'm doing a full calibration on it, I removed the table, just remove these 4 bolts and pull it off. The reason for this is so that I can see the top bearings as well as the lower bearings, and make sure they're working right before I put the table back on. It just makes it a whole lot simpler. And now I'm going to put the blade on. Okay, so I got the blade on. The first thing I want to do is I want to get it positioned on the wheel just right. As you can see right now, the blade is actually pretty much centered on the wheel, but I don't want that. I want the bottom of the gullet centered on the wheel. So I'm going to loosen my nut back here, and while I'm turning the wheel, I'm going to turn the knob until I get the bottom of the gullet in the center of the wheel. About maybe a little bit further forward. I think I went too far back, but about right there. Yeah, and you can hear there's no scraping. Well, a little bit. Right there. No scraping. That's the way it should be. So I'm going to lock this back down. And now we're going to start setting the guides. Actually, before I set the guides, I'm going to set my blade tension. There's a couple different ways to do this. Alex, he likes to put his finger right here and push on the blade here. Doesn't want to get more than a 1/4 inch deflection. So I need to tighten this one up. About right there. Now, another way that I've seen do it, and it works very well, I'll show you a little bit later on, but basically you turn the saw on and you loosen it up until you start to get vibration, and then you tighten it until that vibration goes away, and then you turn it 1 more 1/4 turn. And that's the way Timberwolf says to do it, and that's it works very well. I've used it in the past. By the way, I am using a Timberwolf 3/4 inch 2-3 VPC blade. The 2-3 is the teeth per inch. It's not 23, it's 2/3. And it's the VPC series, which is variable positive claw, and it's their series that's used for straight line resawing in large boards. So that's what I'm doing. So that's the blade I got. So now we're going to start setting the guides. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to get these side guides to a 1/16 of an inch behind the deepest part of the gullet. And I've already got it loose, so I'm just going to slide it forward, possibly. Oh, the thrust bearing's in the way. I didn't loosen it up. So loosen up your thrust bearing so you can back it out of the way. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to get it moved to where your side guides right here are about 1/16 of an inch behind the gullet. So about, moved it too far. About right there. And then you tighten up the nut. And as you can see, tighten this down. I'm a little close actually. So we'll slide it back just a hair. About 1/16 of an inch behind the deepest part of the gullet right there. And then you tighten up your nut and do the same thing to the bottom. Now, if you have this particular saw, the Rikon 20 or 14-inch 10 324, it's kind of hard to see where your lower guides are being placed because they have these guards on them. So I'm going to take that off so that we can see it a little bit better. Removed. So for this, on this saw, if you're using the guides that came with it, you've got this nut right here. You have to loosen it up, and then that will allow you to move the whole thing front and back. And you just want to move it again. And again, you just want to move it until the side bearings are about 1/16 of an inch behind the deepest part of the gullet. Now my thrust bearing's moving on that one also. Back it off. Make sure your thrust bearing is out of the way or it will start pushing your blade forward. Just bring it towards about 1/16 of an inch behind the deepest part of the gullet. So about right there. And then tighten up the nut. And if you have the tools that came with it when you bought the saw, you have everything you need to be able to do this. You don't need anything special. The wrenches and the Allen wrenches are all with it. It comes with it to be able to assemble it. So now we're going to adjust the side bearings. Now the side bearings, you want them as close to the blade as you can get without them actually touching. So what I usually do is I take them to the blade and then I back them off just a hair until I see a little bit of daylight in there, and then I'll tighten it down. Do the same over here. Touching the blade, back it off. So the way you check this, according to Alex, is spin your wheel and your guide should not move. But if you just put just a little bit of pressure, and that one's not turning. Why is it not turning? I think I need to get some lubricant on it. Yeah, that's all it is. Just need to get some lubricant on the guide. But you can hear it scraping a little bit, so it's going to move it after I put some lubricant on it. And then you do the same the other way, and you see how it just a little bit of pressure. I mean, I'm just touching it. That's what you want. Just touch it and the guide turns. So that's how you get those set. The bottom ones are a little bit different, and I'm going to show you how we do that. Okay, on the bottom ones you don't have the little turn knob on the side to move them. They just slide in and out. But it's the same process. You move it to where it just touches the blade, and then move it just a hair back and tighten it down. Oops. Turn the wheel, it doesn't turn. And the same over here. And that one's turning a little bit, so I got to back it off. Yeah. And then just put just a little bit of pressure on the blade. And there we go. Okay, so forgive the awkward camera angle. The thrust bearing is in a spot where it's hard to get the camera to be able to show you how to do this. But basically it's the same thing as with the side bearings. You move it forward till it just touches the blade, and then back it off just a hair. Oh, where I can see it. So touching the blade, back it off just a hair, tighten it down, rotate your wheel, it shouldn't move. Whoops. So I need to back it off just a little bit more. Tighten it down, rotate the blade, and it's not touching it. But you take your fingernail, put it on the blade, and just barely move it. It should touch, just like that. And you do the same to the bottom. I can't get the camera down there to show that one to you, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that one off camera. Okay, so I got the guides all calibrated now. I got everything tightened back down, and I'm going to put the table back on, and we'll go from there. So those of you that have this saw, you know that taking this table on and off can be a chore. The best way I found to put it back on, it's always better to have someone help you with it, but and whether you have someone to help you or not, best way I found to do it is you've got 4 bolts, 2 here and 2 here. What I found is it's easy to get these 2 lined up first and get them just tight enough to hold it in place, and then you can tilt the table and you tilt the table forward on the trunnion, and that gives you access to the 2 back here and makes it a whole lot easier. Next step, you want to make sure your table is level to the blade. Traditionally you would do that with a square. You'd put a square up on it and make sure it's square, and do the same on the other side, but Alex actually has a much better method in my opinion. So you take a piece of 2x4, 2x6. 2x6 would obviously be better, but I don't have 2x6 right now. And you make a cut on it, and then you flip the board towards you and slide it to the back, and then it should slide right on the blade. If it does, then that means your table's square and you're good to go. So now, of course, the ultimate test is to try and cut as thin a piece of veneer as you can. So I set the fence as close to the blade as I felt comfortable and ran it through. I later found out that the reason it cut off the way it does is because my fence actually wasn't 90 degrees to the table. So I got that set and did it again, and it came out even better. So yeah, I mean that's all this one was. I'm just I needed to set the saw up, so I figured I'd film it for you guys and get it out there. I know some people have this particular saw, and I don't have the Carter guides on mine. That's going to be my next upgrade on this, is I'm going to get the Carter guides and put on it. Sean Smithson with Smithson Creations, he actually has a video, or he's coming out with a video on the Laguna. I think he has the 1412 or 1214, one of those. I know it's not the BX, 14BX, it's the step down from that. He bought the Carter guides, and Laguna sent him a Resawing King blade of theirs, and he's going to put a video out on that. And when he does get that video out, I'll be sure to put a link down in the description to his. And yeah, so that's it for today, guys. I'm moving on with the project, and we'll hopefully have that video out within the next month, hopefully. So yeah, until next time, guys, happy creating.